The morning sun poured through the large glass windows of Route 19 diner, painting golden stripes across the worn-out tiles and chrome bar stools. The coffee machines hissed in rhythm with the sizzling of bacon, and the scent of buttered pancakes floated in the air. But beneath the hum of morning chatter, there was a tension that hung heavy, one that no one had expected when they walked in for breakfast that day. At the far corner of the diner, 3 men sat slouched in a booth, their jackets reeking of smoke and cheap cologne. Their laughter was loud, sharp, and mean. And right in their line of fire was Mara Quinn, a 27-year-old waitress trying her best to keep her composure as she refilled a cup of coffee with trembling hands. "Serve us faster, bitch," one of them barked, slamming his palm against the table so hard that the silverware jumped. The entire diner went silent for a heartbeat. Mara froze, her chest tightening. Her hand shook so badly that hot coffee spilled over the edge of the cup, burning her skin. She winced, biting her lip, but said nothing. She had dealt with rude customers before, but this felt different. The way they stared at her wasn't just cruel, it was predatory. If you believe in kindness, courage, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Together, we can make stories like this reach hearts that need hope. Mara took a shaky breath and forced a smile, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm sorry, sir. I'll get your order right out." She turned away quickly, blinking back tears. Her sneakers squeaked on the linoleum floor as she hurried behind the counter. Her coworker, a quiet older cook named Rick, watched her with worry from the kitchen window. "You want me to call the sheriff?" he whispered, but Mara shook her head. "No," she said softly. "If I make a scene, it'll only get worse." Mara had worked at 19 Diner for 4 years. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid the rent for her tiny apartment and helped her care for her sick mother. Every dollar mattered. Every tip was survival. But that morning, survival felt like humiliation. The men started jeering again, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Hey, sweetheart, maybe you dropped your smile somewhere." Another one sneered, his voice dripping with mockery. "How about you bring it over with another cup of coffee?" Ha! A young couple at the next booth looked away, embarrassed but silent. An old man reading the newspaper folded it quietly and lowered his head. No one said a word. Mara's hands trembled as she picked up a fresh pot of coffee, her reflection quivering in the silver spout. She told herself she could handle it, that it would all be over soon. But when she turned to head back toward the table, she heard the sharp sound of a whistle. "Yeah, that's right, come here, darling," one of them taunted, slapping the seat next to him. "Sit right here. We'll tip you real good." Her heart pounded so loud she could hear it in her ears. She froze halfway there. Every instinct screamed at her to run. Then, suddenly, the door chimed. The jingle of the bell was ordinary, but the presence that followed wasn't. The smell of engine oil and leather filled the air. The sunlight from outside caught on a row of metal studs and black boots. 5 bikers walked in, their vests emblazoned with the patch of a local club called the Iron Shields. Their leader, a broad-shouldered man with a thick beard and sharp gray eyes, scanned the room. The diner seemed to hold its breath. Mara stepped aside as they entered. The men at the corner booth smirked at first. "Well, look who rolled in," one of them muttered. "What is this, a fashion show for rejects?" The leader of the bikers, Cole Mercer, didn't respond. He just looked around, slow and deliberate, until his gaze landed on Mara. She stood behind the counter, clutching the coffee pot like a shield. Her knuckles were white, her eyes wet. Something in her expression made his jaw tighten. Cole motioned to his group and they sat at the counter. "Ma'am," he said calmly, "could we get 5 coffees, please?" His voice was deep but kind, the kind of tone that carried both respect and quiet strength. Mara nodded, her voice barely audible. "Of course." She poured the coffee with trembling hands. Behind her, the thugs started laughing again, louder now, as if daring the bikers to notice them. "Hey, sweetheart, don't forget us!" The loud table in the corner still wants some attention. Cole's hand paused midair as he reached for his cup. His eyes lifted slowly to meet theirs in the mirror behind the counter. The reflection showed the 3 men leaning back, smirking. He didn't move for a moment. Then, without looking away, he said quietly, "You done talking to her like that?" The laughter died immediately. One of them snorted, trying to mask his unease. "What, you her boyfriend now?" Cole took a slow sip of coffee. "No," he said. Just someone who doesn't like seeing people treated like garbage. The diner was dead silent. Even the clock on the wall seemed to tick louder. The biggest of the three thugs stood up, puffing his chest. "You got a problem, old man?" Cole rose from his seat with deliberate calm. He wasn't angry, at least not outwardly. But there was a weight in his stance that made the air feel heavier. The rest of his crew, 4 men and 1 woman, stood too, each with the same cold, unwavering stare.
"Yeah,"
Cole said softly. "The problem's you." The thug took a step forward, then stopped when Cole's friend Mason, a 6'4" biker with tattoos down his arms, shifted his jacket slightly, revealing a badge stitched underneath U.S. Marine Corps veteran. Something flickered in the thug's eyes, a brief flash of doubt. Cole stepped closer. "You've got 2 choices. You finish your meal, apologize to the lady, and walk out. Or you try to make your point, and I make sure you remember this morning every time you look in the mirror." The silence was crushing. Mara stood frozen behind the counter, heart racing. She didn't want violence, but she had never in all her years seen anyone stand up for her like this. Finally, one of the thugs muttered, "Fine, whatever," and threw a few crumpled bills on the table. "Let's get out of here." They shoved past the door, muttering curses, and the diner's bell jingled again as they disappeared into the parking lot. For a long moment, no one moved. Then a small clap came from one of the booths, the old man with the newspaper. Then another, and another. Within seconds, the whole diner erupted in quiet applause. Mara covered her mouth, tears spilling down her cheeks. Cole gave a small nod and sat back down. "Sorry if we made a scene," he said softly. "Didn't come here looking for trouble." Mara wiped her eyes and shook her head. "No," she whispered, her voice trembling. "You came here at the right time." She brought over a fresh pot of coffee, but Cole gently waved it away. "You've done enough," he said. "Take a break. Sit down." For the first time in a long while, Mara sat. She told them about her mother, about how she'd been working double shifts, about how the diner was her only steady job. She laughed nervously, apologizing for crying. But the bikers just listened. Really listened. With the kind of respect she wasn't used to. When they finished their meal, Cole placed a folded envelope on the counter. "For you," he said. Mara frowned. "I can't." "It's not charity," he interrupted gently. "It's a thank you. For doing your job with grace when people like that tried to break you." After they left, she opened the envelope. Inside was $4,000 in cash and a note that read, "When the world gets ugly, remember there are still good people riding beside you." The iron shields. Mara cried openly then, not from sadness, but from relief. It wasn't about the money. It was the reminder that kindness, courage, and decency still existed, even in the most unexpected places. That night, when she got home, she found her mother sitting by the window. "Rough day?" her mother asked softly. Mara smiled through tears. "No, Mom. Actually, it was a good one." The next morning, the story spread through town. Someone had filmed part of the confrontation on their phone, and the clip went viral. Not because of the fight that almost happened, but because of the moment of kindness and courage that did. Messages poured in for Mara, for Cole, and for the diner. People sent letters, donations, and job offers. But Mara stayed right where she was, behind the counter of Route 19 diner, because she had learned something powerful. Sometimes the smallest places hold the biggest hearts. So the next time a stranger walked in, she greeted them with the same warm smile, not out of obligation, but out of faith that kindness can echo louder than cruelty. And from that day on, whenever the sound of a motorcycle rumbled down Route 19, she looked up with gratitude instead of fear. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Journal. Every act of compassion deserves to be remembered and shared.